any moment now. So tell me, are we ready to begin this service?
You're live.
We're up. We're running for the first time ever. Unity Orlando's live stream of our Sunday morning service. Thank you for coming and joining us. It is especially wonderful that you've come on what to us seems like a historic event, since it's the first time we're doing it. It's really important that we gather together, that we experience the strength of our gathered consciousness, even if we do it in this way across the internet. So thank you for coming and joining our live stream broadcast for this very first time. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brian to open up with a joy song.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. And every thought becomes a prayer. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Thank you, Brian, Ronnie, and Richard. I think you got us started in a wonderful way. We're going to move right on into meditation now. So take a deep breath and sigh it out. We close our eyes and center ourselves. Quiet your outer being. Be still and know that I am God, comes the voice from deep within. Be still and know that wonderful presence within you, loving you, comforting you, and carrying you through whatever you must face in outer life. But in this moment, we feel the demands of outer life falling away. As we rise higher into the celestial part of our being, It seems we rise above the demands of this outer world. Into the kingdom of the heavens. And into the presence of God. For as we rise higher, we remember, I am a child of God. I'm a spiritual being. I'm a child of the light. And though I am come into this earth for a short time and am here to radiate God's light and love everywhere as I walk through this world, I am at the core of my being. I am the child of God. I am beloved. And I am immersed in that presence from which I draw my very life. So feel the peace, the centeredness, the capability that seems to flow from our soul. And as we rest here in this higher space, we look down upon our lives, the world, and those things we have to face. And we quietly know God is in charge and shining through me even as I face the difficulties of life. For he that is in me at this height is greater than he that is in the world. So with a wonderful sense of peace and comfort and even love and joy of life, realize that even in difficult times, I can face whatever life throws at me from the center of my being, from a wonderful state of peace. Because God is with me. And I am God's son or God's daughter. I am the child of God. Though the world may spin around me with turmoil, I know that all is well. For the presence within, for God is with me every step of the way. Thank you, God. Amen.
What if I could just walk away from all this fear inside? What if I could just find a way to step into a golden life? A golden life, not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that keeps your good coming round. The kind of life that sings you a song, the kind of life I know I belong. It's where I belong. When I walk around, I shine your light. Only when I follow your guide. Like turning up a fire within me bright. Something I don't want to hide. A golden life, the kind of life that strings you along. The certain good that surely belongs to a life that all the pain is gone. A golden life, the kind of life that strings you along. A certain good that surely belongs to a life that all the pain is gone. A golden life, the kind of life that sings you a song. A life that has been beautifully drawn. When I step away from the pain, here a golden life remains. A golden life.
Oh, thank you, Brian. That was beautiful. Certainly put us above the fray, which is our topic for today. I decided I have to begin this talk by saying very clearly that I chose this topic, this title, 2 months ago, long before coronavirus was a big thing in our lives. In fact, this is not what I expected this talk was going to be referring to. I thought there were probably other types of fray in our lives that we needed to be above. But today, I have to realize the timing was amazingly appropriate. Today, what we're going to be doing is talking about living above the drama of life and not getting caught in the drama. And that certainly is something that's in our face right now. And I'm going to start it with a story I intended to use 2 months ago. It just happens to be more appropriate now than it was then. It's a very old teaching story. It's an ancient story, actually. I first heard it 40 years ago, but it goes way back. It's the story of a man who was leaving his home city and traveling to another place. He had to do some business. He had something to do in another city. And as he's leaving the city and going down the road out of the city, he meets the devil. He meets the devil on the road. And he's a little taken back, of course, and says, "Well, where are you going?" And the devil says, "Well, I'm going to that city you just came out of." He says, "Why are you going there?" He said, "Well, I'm going to kill 5,000 people. Be glad you're on your way out." And there's pretty much nothing he can do about it, so he goes on to his destination. And while there, he hears from survivors of the city that 10,000 people have died. And finally, it's time for him to go home. So he does. He gets back on the road and heads on home, and he meets the devil on the way out of coming out of the city. And at this point, he's a little upset, and he says, "You lied to me. You said you were going to kill 5,000. And the devil says, "No, I didn't. I only killed 5,000. The other 5,000 died of fear." Fear is probably the most destructive in our lives. Yes, we meet challenges, but fear of them just makes them twice as bad and twice as destructive. Today, what I want to talk about is rising above the drama. Drama is when we get into the fear. And yet, if we're going to handle our lives well, we have to not come from fear, but maybe come from caution. Fear does not rule out doing what is wise and taking precautions as they need to be taken. But fear changes the whole dynamic of what we're experiencing and makes it far more destructive than it originally was going to be. I consider the difference between caution and fear is like, well, caution is what we feel when we get in to drive a car. There's no one who drives a car who doesn't know that every time you get in that car, there is a chance that you'll be in an accident. But when you get in that car, you drive with caution to avoid an accident, but you don't get in fearful. If you do, you're more than likely going to end up in one. Fear seems to do that. So, fear is one of the things we have to deal with in this life, and quite frankly, it's something we're dealing with right now. I would say the disappearance of all the toilet paper in the country is something that is simply described as panic. The pictures going around that show 4 guys in the picture wrapped up in toilet paper like mummies, and the caption is, "This is how Americans protect themselves against coronavirus." It kind of tries to make light, and maybe we do need to make a little light of what we're facing. Are we facing something, a real challenge? Oh, absolutely. But it needs caution, not fear. Unfortunately, human beings tend to be addicted to the drama. Drama makes your life exciting. It's fearful. It gets that adrenaline running. It gets everything going in a wonderful way. And so we have our drama queens and our drama kings. They seem to like it a little more than most. But the truth is, every single one of us is a little bit addicted to the drama of life. And right now, we need to rise above it so that we can act clearly and firmly and competently to handle the things we've got to face. You see, drama is when you develop an attitude that's filled with negative emotions instead of calmly doing what needs to be done, knowing God is in charge and it'll be okay. Yelling the sky is falling never really helped anyone. Now there's a concept that we need to deal with this spiritually. And it was presented very beautifully in the Don Juan books. Carlos Castaneda is this writer who's studying under this Yaqui Indian man of wisdom known as Don Juan. Don Juan's having him do all kinds of things that, quite frankly, his personality finds embarrassing, or he says he can't do, and every once in a while he reacts emotionally and says, "I can't do this," or "This is too embarrassing," or "I'm just not good enough." And Don Juan always turns to him and says, "You are indulging. Quit indulging." He's not saying there's no difficulty here. He's saying that when faced with difficulty, you retreat into fear and negative emotion. And that destroys your ability to meet it competently. Go ahead and do what you must do. Be cautious, but not fearful. So right now, we need to practice not indulging. There's a lot of indulgence going on out there. And probably a lot going on inside of ourselves. Personally, I've had a little bit of problem keeping myself on the positive straight and narrow. I can't imagine that you haven't had your moments. And we all need to look at ourselves and say, hey, that doesn't do a thing. Looking down the road and seeing doom and gloom does not do a thing for the process. I need to be looking with hope. I need to be the eye of the storm. And the only way to do that is to remember you're a soul. And the soul of you cannot truly be harmed. Maybe your body can. Maybe your personality might have to go through some really rough things. But you cannot be harmed. And as we move to the center of our being, we can be that place of peace while the whole world goes crazy around us. And believe me, the world needs people to be a place of peace right now. We need to know God is in charge. And we need to sit here in the eye as the turmoil swirls around us and say, I am in God's presence, and whatever comes, I'll face it and I'll handle it. And God will be with me as I walk through this time. It's really captured in the 23rd Psalm. I'm just going to read verses 4 through 6. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Even as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I suppose that could be a pandemic, right? I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You will carry me through whatever I must go through. My cup runneth over. Good will come sometimes from the strangest sources. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. I will remember I am a child of God. For how long? Forever. There's one other scripture, and I already used it in the meditation. 1 John 4:7. He who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. Never forget that. There is a spirit within you that can handle anything that the world wants to throw at us. Because you are not just that personality and that body. You are soul. So let's talk quickly about some steps for remaining above the fray. Well, the very first one is rather obvious. It's what I've already addressed. Step away from the drama. Just plain step away from the drama. Turn away from it. And declare God is in charge. It'll take an act of will. It did for me. To turn away from fear and frustration. For me, it was more anger and frustration over the way things have been handled. But everybody has their drama, right? You have to turn away from it. Because you need all your faculties. You need to face what's coming and what is here. You need to face it knowing that I will do what I need to do, and I'll do it calmly, I'll do it competently, and we'll get through this. My sister told me a wonderful story. I'm actually going to refer to her a couple of times in this talk, but first she told me the story of a woman who, this is an elderly woman with an even older husband, and he had said to her, "Dear, I think it's time for us to stay in. We're not going to go out any more than we have to. You need to stay home." Now, this was particularly hard for this woman because she is on the run constantly. Her lifestyle is seeing people everywhere and going to everything that happens. So here she is at home, getting more and more anxious, agitated. That's the word I wanted, because she's staying home and not getting to go out and do the things that she thought that she enjoys doing every day. In fact, she became so agitated and frustrated. She says, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to change out the curtain in that shower that I've been waiting to change out in the upstairs bathroom. So she, of course, waited till her husband was gone. He was picking up their granddaughter. And she waited till he was gone. Then she went in and she said, I was so agitated, in such a frustrated state of mind, that I did what I tell everyone my age not to do. I climbed up on top of the toilet seat in order to change this shower curtain. And then she promptly slipped, fell into the tub, and broke her nose. By the time her husband arrived home, she had already driven herself to the ER, where she claims she was sitting there waiting to be looked at, sitting next to a man who exhibited every symptom described as being of coronavirus, and was probably the first case of coronavirus in Frankfort, Kentucky. Now, maybe he wasn't. We don't know. But there was one case came alive during that period of time. So she looked back and said, I managed to get so frustrated that I made things far worse. Well, we want you to pull back from indulging in the drama and find that place of peace. Every time you notice yourself slipping into the drama, go back and declare, God is with us. It's going to work out. So the first step is step away from the drama and declare God is in charge. The second is to re-embrace contentment. If you've been around a while, you know that I've told you that contentment is one of the gifts of the soul, and something I got recently. Well, I certainly seemed to lose it as I started getting into the drama that's all around me. I need to get it back. Each of us needs to get back that sense of contentment with our lives, even if now they're not going exactly like we thought they would. We need to declare, God is in charge. God is with me. And we will get through this. God is in charge. God is with me. And we will get through this. You got to be content to do whatever this experience requires of you. And it's going to require some things, maybe even some things we would prefer it didn't. But we can be content to deal with whatever it is the world has thrown at us. For me, I needed to try to get that contentment back. I needed to remember he who is in me is greater than he who is in the world. I needed to know a lesson I got taught long ago, that I can take anything the world throws at me. And declaring I can't take it only makes things get worse. We can handle it. Therefore, we can be content. And the third step away from the drama, re-embrace contentment. The third is embrace hope, goodness, and love. This is an interesting time to do that, but it's possibly the most important time to do that. We need to keep repeating, it's going to work out. We need to embrace hope. It's going to work out. We need to know it's going to be better than the dire consequences that others have declared. Even in worst case scenario, it is important for us to concentrate on love, beauty, and goodness right now. That is so important to keep our mental and emotional state healthy and ourselves capable of meeting whatever we must do most competently. Even if worst case scenario comes, we need to feel good right now, because feeling bad does not help. It doesn't change a thing. In the end, it'll only make things worse. So we need to concentrate on enjoying what we've got, even if it wasn't what we wanted. My sister and I got on the phone. Told you I'd mention her again. We got on the phone, and I have this tendency of looking down the road and seeing what the pitfalls might be. So I can look down this road and I could see some major pitfalls, and I am just spewing all over the place to her, because she's not part of the congregation, so I can get human for a little while. And she ends by saying something to the effect of, I've got to believe some good will come out of this, she says to me. I've got to believe some good will come out of this. I'm looking around, and people are checking on each other. People are starting to help each other. They're coming together in a really wonderful way, at least here in Kentucky. She threw Kentucky versus Florida in my face. And I thought, she's throwing my own stuff back at me. I know she is. But I needed it thrown back at me, because that's exactly right. This is a time for knowing it's going to work out, for embracing hope, for seeing that humanity is going to awaken through this in some way, for knowing that in the end, some good has got to come out of this. Is there going to be some death? Well, yeah. But what do you know of in life? What activity do we participate in that at some level doesn't have some damaging results? Reg, I was on the phone with Reg, and he quotes Joe as having read a book on Sylvia Browne. I guess she was a psychic to the stars or something like that. But supposedly she prophesied that in 2020, a pandemic would sweep the globe, and then it would recede as suddenly and mysteriously as it had appeared. Now, this woman got a whole lot of things wrong. But I believe in hope. So right now, I'm going to believe she got this one right. She at least got the first half right. And so I'm going to believe in the second half until proven wrong. I choose to believe this will end sooner than predicted, and that fewer will die than we envision. When I am proven wrong, I'll deal with that. But until it happens, I choose to have hope. Now, let me talk to this coronavirus thing for just a moment. The scientist in me wanted to look at the figures. This is not the flu we've been told over and over by the experts. But in terms of deaths, well, the flu kills 40,000 to 60,000 every flu season in the US alone. And we take that in stride. And quite frankly, it's the same populations that are often in greatest jeopardy. Right now, in this pandemic, worldwide, at last check, there were 13,000 worldwide. That includes China, Italy, all the places that have been hit hardest so far. U.S. deaths, well, we're just getting started, aren't we? We've had 300. But what I'm saying is this number, this figure will most certainly go up. But it could go up by 10 times, by 20 times, by 100 times, or even 200 times. And still, we reach the end and realize it took as many lives as flu did. I'm not demeaning what's happening. I'm telling you, this is not the unconquerable boogeyman. We've taken our hits before, and we'll take our hit this time. So until proven wrong, I'm going to embrace the hope that this pandemic, in terms of deaths, will get no worse than a bad flu season. When I'm wrong, I'll accept that and embrace that. And until then, I'm going to hold to the hope that it will dissipate as quickly and as mysteriously as it arrived. Now, people say, oh, well then are you going to take safety measures? Absolutely. I didn't say act stupidly. I just said act without fear. We already are taking measures. Be cautious, not fearful. That's what's required here. Act wisely, but embrace hope. Step away from the drama, re-embrace contentment, embrace hope, goodness, and love. And then there's number 4, which is where it always has to lead. Realize I am a soul, and none of this can truly harm me. It can harm this particular outer experience, I get that, and we would prefer that didn't happen. But we need to know very clearly, you are an eternal spiritual being who will live in the house of the Lord forever, as it says in the 23rd Psalm. And this life is but a small blip on your journey. With that understanding, we can now concentrate on this life without fear, and we can embrace as much of it as we can. You are not your body, you are not this personality, and you cannot die. You are soul. Knowing that, you can face your life now with courage instead of fear. Image yourself as the eye of the storm. You have this soul in here. You have personality that's out here dealing with everything. Move a little more into your soul. Move into that place of peace and clarity. And from that place of peace and clarity, face whatever the world brings our way. Hanging on to whatever goodness, beauty, love, and joy we can find in our lives right now. Because in the end, that's all that matters. The rest of it will pass away. Let's take a moment to relax and to know the spirit that is within me is mightier than anything the world can generate. Here within, I am at the eye of the storm. I am at peace. I see things clearly and choose to act wisely. And Spirit surrounds me, enfolds me, loves me, comforts me through everything I must go through. Father, for thy Spirit that is eternally with me, and for the glory of life that is even at this moment radiating at us from all directions around us and from deep within. For the glory of life, God, for the glory of life forever. We are truly grateful. Thank you, God. Amen. Well, this is church. If you reach out, I think you can probably feel the people who are all in front of their computer screens right now. And normally this would be the time for our offering. And guess what? It is in this format also. So here we go. You can give your offering to this church by going to the home page on our website right there and clicking on Donate Now, the Donate Now link. It's got a little box around it. It's the one with the box around it. From there, you can choose either PayPal or a credit or debit card. Or if you're old school, we have no problem with you sending us a check through the mail. It would have to be sent to our physical address. So, it's time for the offering. Let's bless it. We're going to affirm. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Just think of that for a moment. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to go there, but we're probably going to finish service first. So let me say, we know that abundance is created by giving. What we give is multiplied and returned to us from life many times over. And during times like this, it is so easy to fall into a consciousness of lack. Not thinking we're going to get enough of something like toilet paper or hand sanitizer or whatever. And the way we break this downward spiral of consciousness of lack is by giving. It is truly important right now. Giving in any form, even going next door and giving your neighbor a roll of toilet paper, whatever, giving in any form right now is important to lift our consciousness back into abundance. But specifically, this is our offering. So I urge you to give an offering to Unity Orlando. Our expenses continue, whether we gather for church service or whether we do it like this from our homes. And your support right now is very deeply appreciated. Please click on the Donate Now button found on the homepage right after we close off with our peace song. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Brian, and he's going to close our service as we always do with Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for taking this time with us.